know how to use Google Classroom, the basics, pulling it up. So Google Forms is one of my favorite features. So A, it's great for data collection. So I'm leading the Striving Readers Grant here. So I'm using Google Classroom for a lot of data collection. So I'm able to send out, here was our literacy staff survey. Google Forms is very easy to create. You can see that I can do, now there is a feature in Google Classroom that I can go in and make it anonymous, which I do on my surveys. I choose to make those anonymous so when I get the data back, I know my teachers have been honest, right? Because if they know their name's going to be attached to it, sometimes they won't. So with the Striving Readers Grant, part of that was to get feedback. Now once I do the questions, and you can do multiple choice, and you can do writing style questions, and they can give me feedback. So when I go to responses, it actually gives me the data. So did you find the RDC literacy course beneficial? 78.9% of my teachers said yes. So when Mr. Howard and I had a conversation about this, we were able to say, okay, this is something we want to continue doing. Okay? And I also did a survey for all 7th graders that went through the class and all 8th graders that went through the class. So we had a meeting with admin and sat down and compared all the data. Did the kids see it beneficial? Did the teachers see it beneficial? And how we were going to modify. So as a principal, I think this is probably one of the ways you would use Google to easily collect data. So when I send that out, I can upload this into my Google Drive. I have all the data. I can share it with Mr. Howard. I can share it with the district. It's all there. I can print it out. Even the writing questions, you can see where I can go back and see all the things that the staff told me as far as what they thought they would improve and what they liked.
I had a lot of interest.
So this is great for my data collection in. Forms is very simple to use. Let me get back to the main. Under the tab. So when I click on my Google tab when I log in, I have my drive, and that's where everything is stored. So that's where everything I do Google is stored on my drive. So from there, I have, if you go on down and click more, your Google Forms is here. So once I click my forms, I have all of these options. I like blank. All of mine have started from blank because I don't have to deal with the preset. And within a blank one, oh, I'm not up to touch.
Yes.
Within a blank one,
Yes, it's only for...
You title it, and once you title it, if you click here like a Google Doc, it'll rename it the same thing. So I can go in, I have several options on my questions, and I'll show you some of my kids. I can give a short answer or a paragraph style question. I can do multiple choice, I can do multiple options with check boxes. If you want a kid or a person to respond to more than one, you need to use check boxes. If you have one answer, you can use multiple choice or the drop down. You could also use a Likert scale where they rate it 1 to 5. You have multiple choice grids and checkbox grids where they can check multiple things. So as you're going through your questions. Now as a teacher, I'm used to touching my board, sorry. As a teacher, my students use it for all of their vocab work and anything they do to me that can be graded up front. Now you can still do short answer, but I go in and grade those. I don't like for Google to have access to grade my kids' work. And sometimes we'll mix it, and I'll tell them, you're gonna get questions 1 and 3 wrong until I score them, because I can go back in and score them. So my kids today are actually taking their Unit 8 vocab assessment. So all of their vocab is loaded on Google Classroom. So I can go in and type in all their assignments on Google Forms. They have due dates, it comes up on their classroom, they have to do it, and on the due date morning I import it into my Google Classroom to grade them. So all this is done up front for me. So today, this is what a checkbox would look like. So this is their test, they have 3 different sections. They would go in, here's their definition, and they check the word that matches the definition. Throughout their test, it won't let me go on because I'm not actually taking the test, but within the 3 sections, oh yeah, there's true, false. So all of their words, don't be looking at the test questions. These kids haven't taken it yet. And then when I get to the end, I have multiple choice. So I can go in and import all those questions. Now the neat feature is, once they finish the test, they get immediate feedback. So Google grades it for me automatically when I put the answers in. So the data that I get from this is great. It tells me the median, my average score, my range of points, and it gives me a bar graph of how my kids did. And I can also get each kid's individual score. So when I scroll down, all of my kids' scores are there. And if I click on Emma's from my screen, it'll actually bring up her Google form. I can see how she did, what she missed, okay? And then there's other data options as well. I can do by question. That tells me how the kids did, and I can look at each individual form and scroll through them. See, the kids see this immediately. Once they hit submit, they get their score back instantly, which is great because when I time it, if a child finishes and another kid's still working, they go on to the next assignment. So I don't have to sit there. Now, why does this make my life easier? Because once I front load it, so next year when I give that test, I delete the responses and reload it. I do not have to retype any of that material. That will all be there for me next year. So second period is taking the assessment. Okay, so here's my vocab assessment. I click on it from the teacher view. Now if you see here, you are going to see my kids have taken it and that they do not have scores on the side. However, it tells me every kid that's taken the test. Okay? So when I hit import grades, I'm going to import them. And now on the left-hand column, every kid's grade pops up. So on my Surface Pro, I have Google Forms up. On my desktop, I have Infinite Campus, and I just go down and import the grades. I'm hoping soon that Google will get to where it will mix with iCampus. I think that's coming, but we're not there yet. But I just graded 20 assignments, 33 assignments. Okay? And a neat feature about this as well, when I'm doing Google Forms, now every child in this class was here, but I actually take attendance. So as I'm taking attendance, I don't load this to every child. I only load it to the kids that are sitting there. So everybody in second period was there today. But had I had a kid that was absent, I would not have loaded this form to his or her sheet. And then they could have seen it when they came back, I would have loaded it. So they can't take it from home. Okay? And we also have GoGuardian. Are you all familiar with GoGuardian? So GoGuardian is a program that I bring up on my computer, and I don't have a class in it right now, but if I bring it up, it monitors their entire screen. So while they're on this Google Form or Google Classroom, I can see their screen from my computer. And some of them will tell you when I'm home and they are taking tests, I send them little messages that I am monitoring their screen. So I do not have to be in this building to monitor their screen. So I can have GoGuardian up, I can be at home, they can be taking a test or working on Google, and I can visually see everything they click on in Google Classroom, everything they click on in the internet. They learned the hard way that I was watching from home one time when they were using Google Forms and their word list. But I can see everything they do. I can shut down tabs, I can lock them into only one scene, so I can lock them into where they can't come out of Google Classroom. So you can monitor everything. So Google Forms is probably what I use the most, as you can tell on my forms, how many things that I do. Their vocab every week. So here is Unit 8, choosing the right word. They would have had this loaded on Tuesday, and it would have been due on Thursday. And so you can see that they would go through, again, it gives them the exact answers when they click done, and then when I go into Classroom, for second period, I can go in, I've already uploaded theirs, but you can see that I can tell everybody that's done the assignment, and you can even tell who's missing or who has turned it in late. So once I set a due date on a Google form, if they do it after that time, it will actually show me the assignment was done late. They can still do it, which I love. So in Google Classroom, it doesn't cut them off. It allows them to keep doing the assignment. It just shows me that that kid did it after my deadline. So this child finished, but it was done late. So that gives me a leg up to mark in iCampus. She did it late, but I still give her full credit because she did the assignment. Are there any questions? This has been a really big upfront for me this year. I'm working a lot on the weekends to get everything in there. But the nice part about it is next year when I walk in, I'm going to delete their responses from last year and reuse them. So it's a great tool.
I was just thinking, this really replaces the need for that.
The one thing that I like, and I do, my kids will tell you, sometimes it's a form, sometimes it's a grade cam sheet, but one thing I like about Google Forms is the fact that I'm not scanning. So when I give you a test back from GradeCam, I've had to circle and you've got to match it with the test to see which one you answered correctly or didn't. Now I like the practice still, because that's how they're going to see K-Prep. So I do a mixture. But the Google form allows them to see instantly. Oh, you got an 18 out of 20. What did I miss? They will scroll. They will see the 2 they missed because it's in red.
All right, guys, got about 30 seconds. We'll rotate about 30 seconds.
No, Google Classroom imports them. You have it. The first year you log on to Google Classroom, you're able to import your kids. I don't know why, but the second year you give them a code. So if you see this class code here, so when my kids come in for second period, they log on to Google, they go into Google Classroom, they type in that code, and it instantly puts them in my classroom.
How many other teachers are doing this?
I would say 99% of the building, guys. 99% of the building. So it kind of replaces the need for Edmodo. My kids will send me private messages. I'll show you my fourth period class. I told my kids, hey, if grammar is really, they struggle with grammar a lot. That's probably the biggest concept they struggle with. So we were doing some practice, and I had a student that wrote me and said, hey, I'm really confusing adjectives and adverbs. So she just sent me a private message on Google Classroom. So what I did, you can see here, I went in from home and loaded one student assignments from Khan Academy where she could go over adjectives. It just went to her. I just loaded it to her. So, but great feature.
Since it's just the 2 of you, do I need to start at the basics, or?
Start wherever you.
Okay, and I'm actually going to sit, since there's just the 2 of you, I'm sitting on the floor with everyone else. So, this is my second full year of using Google Classroom within my class. Actually, I've got 4 more students and current students sitting here. Oh, there's so much pressure. And I feel that it has very much helped me to stay organized, help my students to stay organized once we teach those expectations of how we turn in things and how we access assignments and some of the shortcuts to our, like the keyboard that we use with the Chromebooks. You know, it's a system. So I'll go ahead and start and show you my dashboard. So for every class that I teach, I have a page in Google Classroom. It keeps track of their assignments. You know, this is where they turn in things to me. I post materials. I use the computers almost every day in class, even if it's just to help save some paper by putting resources in Google Classroom instead of making copies.
Here are my questions.
If I were to go into my second period class, this is kind of where it's their live stream. It's everything that I post. I can post announcements. I can send messages. I can post materials. And then in our classwork, I created categories. We do a lot of assignments. There's a lot of different civilizations that we study, and I want them to keep that access to those assignments and to those resources. So this year, I created categories so it wasn't so you didn't have things that were getting lost in between. So we have a millwork category where we do discussion posts. It's there. Our service project is running through the month of February. So this is where they turn in those assignments. We're currently studying Rome. We've done Greece. Every one of our civilizations we've studied so far. Any type of resources or materials or assignments that I want them to keep, it stays right there for them. You know, the categories are whatever you name them. So if we were to be named by content or even skill, you could separate those skills within those sections. I even have a section for past assignments of things that I want them to keep, but I don't want to weigh down in the stream. I did not use this year. But one of the other things to help with parent communication is you can invite their parents to sign up for a weekly email. So every Friday, if they sign up for it, they will get an email of the assignments that were completed that week and their student scores. And that's an automatic. I don't have to do anything to make that work after I insert their email addresses. So that's very handy if, you know, parent involvement and communication is a focus and it's something that somebody would want to work on. This is an easy way for them to offer up that communication. You can't. It's an automatic it just gives the assignments, it's more of a report. There's nothing that I can do personally through this. I want to show you some examples of assignments that I've done utilizing the G Suite, Google Slides, and Google Classroom. I can assign students something to do, like group work, for example. And for this one in particular, I had students partner up and look at a different aspect of Greek culture. So we had 15 different topics, they took it from a box, they partnered up with someone, and within each pair, one person had to focus on ancient Greek culture, and the other had to focus on the contributions of that topic today. So this one's for Greek drama. So one student focused on ancient Greek theater, and the other one focused on the influence. I love group work, but there are too many times that I have seen it be assigned where you have part of the group doing the majority of the work. And so for these types of assignments, once they get going, they each have their own, their own part of it that they are in charge of. That's what they're graded on. These two students presented together in front of the class to give the information, but if one of them didn't do as much work for it, the other wasn't penalized for it. I can also give feedback through this document. So, I try to give a positive before the feedback. They great use of imagery. They had some great pictures, but this particular student tends to be a little shy. So one of the things that I wanted to give her as a little constructive criticism was to make sure that when she's speaking in front of a crowd that she projects her voice. I can give that feedback. It's a private comment, so only she can access it in her account. It's not something that everyone sees. This one's all graded, but when I give assignments, I also project this up on the screen, so I can keep in live time how many students have turned it in and how many people are still working, so that by the end of the class, I will frequently put this up on the screen and say, all right guys, I've got 5 students that still need to turn in this assignment. You have 3 minutes. Make sure that you turn it in before you walk out. Make sure that your name is on the screen so that you know that you've turned it in. Here's another assignment that we did. It's a HyperDoc, which is, it's pretty much just a Google Doc where you have already pre-selected links where students are going to be accessing the information that you want them to, instead of going to Google to find whatever is out there as their resource. So this was an extension activity. We learned about the early Greeks, the Minoans and Mycenaeans, and I wanted them to extend the next day. We talked about how Greek mythology helped to explain natural phenomenon, and I wanted them to learn about a specific example. So I gave them the story of the Minotaur, and it's like an interactive story, so they can put it on their headphones, listen to the story, click through, and learn about the story of the Minotaur. And then they watched a TED-Ed video that kind of connected the myth of the story of the Minotaur with the fact that the island of Crete is on a fault line, and so they get earthquakes a lot. So for the Greeks to think that every time there was an earthquake that the Minotaur was angry, it made sense scientifically. So they watched the video, they read about the Dark Ages. I use these frequently as an extension. As far as what the student sees, the student portion of this is similar in ways to what I see. So they have their own dashboard. Everything is organized. When they come in, they'll click on my social studies class. They get to see the stream as well. They've got their classwork organized. They can also see their grades. So everything is right there. They can access their work. They can access their scores. It just helps to keep things really organized.
What's the most difficult thing rolling this out, and how did you roll this out? How did you with the students, because the students have to participate too, how did you roll this out? And what were some of the
So in the beginning, getting them to automatically get into the room, get their computer out, and get going, it took a while. Now, 30 seconds, and we're rolling with Bellwork. But that's how I did
$1
it.
for every time, so I can't remember my password.
Well, when we use it every day,
is there, how long, so what was the time frame of rolling this out for you? Was this something you started last year, or the year before? Or is it consistent?
Last year was my first full year doing Google Classroom. The year before last, I got the class set in like February or March, and I knew that this was something that I wanted to try out. And those first few months were ugly. I didn't really know what I was doing. Okay, I didn't know how to best use it in my class. I used it too much. I pretty much was technology based, and that's it. And after getting some feedback from my students, they said that they missed writing things with paper and pencil. And so last year I tried to make it more of a balance. But as far as them, grabbing on to the idea of doing everything and turning things into a classroom, they like it. They like that it saves their work automatically, that if they were to make a mistake or delete or erase something, they can just hit the undo button, that they turn it in easily. There is something to be said for making the students be responsible for turning in assignments on their own and physically keeping track of them. But when I was in college, I took online courses, and I, did a lot of work through, what was it called? Blackboard? Yes. Okay. So, I think that this is also something that benefits them to be familiar with this way of learning as well.
I got about 1 minute,
It's a 9 weeks class, and so I have 2 classes every 9 weeks, so I'll have 8 classes of 30 that go through it in a year. It's only taught in 7th grade. This is actually the first year that we're doing it. But where I use technology so much in my class, I use it not only for keyboarding skills, but also computer skills. So they're learning how to insert links into documents, how to create and manipulate things using Google Docs and Google Slides. What else do we do? Just some of the different.
You got 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
I don't know about that. Not right now. This is our first year doing it. We use Typing Club as far as keyboarding typing skills. It's a really good program. It keeps track of their stats, keeps track of their lessons. I can have control if they didn't do so well in a lesson. I can force them to redo it. It gives me a lot of control over it. But I'm the only one touching it currently, and it was a personal interest and something that I thought that my students would benefit from.
Great.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, just to introduce myself, I'm Brittany Williams, so some of you guys know me. I teach 7th grade math. I also am co-teaching with Neil Miller this year, and I've co-taught for I've purely co-taught for 3 years now, I think, and I've always co-taught, but purely just co-teaching for the past 3 years. All right, so the name of my presentation is Creating a School-Wide Math Mindset. A lot of times we talk about growth mindset, and I love growth mindset. I focus on that as well. However, math doesn't come easy to everyone. It's not always looked at as the most fun thing to do. However, I try to make it fun and put a positive spin on things in my classroom. So we're going to talk about having a math mindset. So within creating this school-wide math mindset, we want to change the classroom culture so that we're promoting obedience and moving. So we're moving away from promoting obedience and promoting risk-taking. It's okay to fail. It's okay if you get it wrong, because doing good math takes time. So let's take our time and let's try to, work on making those failures into successes. And I like to encourage the students when they're confused or make mistakes. So just being encouraging and positive and giving them that positive feedback in the classroom. So I want you guys to take about 30 seconds to a minute and determine which one of these you believe does not belong. All right, Mounts, what do you think? Why?
That's a German car, right? And the others are Japan, maybe Maria. From the Orient.
Okay. Okay.
I have no idea.
I have a different answer.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the H doesn't fit the Hyundai because everything else starts with M. And
Okay.
Hyundai starts with H.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with the red one because it's colored and the rest are not.
Okay.
I'm going with red because it doesn't have an exterior, it doesn't have a shape.
Good. Awesome. Any others? Thoughts? What about this one? Don't say, oh no, yet. I got a good one coming for you.
Which one does not belong? I got an answer.
You can answer.
Me again, sorry. The bottom triangle one, because it has 3 sides, and each of the other ones has 4 sides.
Okay.
This is fun.
You're such a dork.
I am. I
Sorry,
can't.
it might be in video. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's staying in the video.
That's okay.
I would have said the
You
bottom
can
right,
make fun
but
of
for
it,
a
I'm
different
still going to
reason.
be me.
Okay.
I would have, it appears that each of the other 3, the shaded sections are 1/4 of the total square, but the bottom right is not 1/4, it's a lot less than 1/4.
Okay. Very good. All right. One last one.
That's you all right over there?
Well, yes.
Yeah, he's out.
I'll give y'all a hint.
Well, you got an
Those are
answer.
wrong answers.
Okay, I don't have an answer yet. I got to think of this.
Because
Bottom right is a negative y intercept.
there is a slope. Y intersection.
I was just going to say short.
Okay.
But you can make an argument for any of them, but the bottom left is the one with the negative coefficient.
Yes. What could be my argument for this one?
For which one? Bottom right?
Yes.
What did she
You're
say?
subtracting
Negative
one.
y intercept.
The rest would be adding. This is actually adding 0 plus 7. So the object of this is that there's an entry point for any student in the class. There's no right or wrong answer. As long as you give me some reasoning, then it is correct. So this promotes success within like the first 5 minutes of class. So I believe within creating this math mindset that the first 5 minutes of class is very important. It sets the tone for the entire class period. So if we come in and we work on bell work that maybe is covering some content from the previous day that Johnny did not master, then he's already setting himself up for failure at the beginning of class. And if it is some spiral review, something from 2 months ago that Johnny does not remember how to solve one-step equations, then that also is setting him up for failure at the beginning of class. So bell work should be something that every student has an entry point. So that's why this which one does not belong is perfect. I will say that I do not do this every day because sometimes with other factors you can't, you have to have, sometimes you have to have bell work. But on days when I know it's going to be something a little bit more challenging, we may do an activity like this to help with their math anxiety. So a suggestion would be to move their bell work or spiral view to the end of class instead of coming into class and having that failure and feeling like they failed before they even began. So hold on.
This is where I gotta fix it. Your toe said I
Right
get
here.
fired.
Okay, I got it. All right, so on your tables, I have 3 cups. This is one of my classroom management tactics that I have. So the green cup, this is for when they work in groups. Green cups mean that they are good, they have no questions. Yellow means they have a question, but it's not preventing them from working. And red means they have a question that is preventing them from working, and they can't move on any further. So I have them set these out on their desk and display the color that they feel like if they're good, then they display green. However, I like this because I use cups. Some people may, want to use something a little less, but I use cups because this is visible. It's easy for me to see. I can glance across the room and easily see if they are working fine or if they have a question. I also like the 3 different colors because I may go to a red before I go to a yellow, and because they can't work, but yellow's still working. But that brings me to my next point, is that I want you guys to work into your table groups and simplify this expression. There's some index cards here, and if you have a question, you can use the cups. And you have 1 minute.
Excuse me, sorry.
1 minute.
Oh, the time. Are we supposed to all do it?
Yes. Well, no, you're working together. You can do it individually and then compare your answers if you'd like. Now, after this, Mr. Howard, I might need you to,
Okay. I'm here for you.
because it's gonna, when I try to change over to the pen, it's when it gets crazy.
The kids have to have consensus in a group before you can set a cup, right? The kids have to decide, if it's a red, the first question I would ask is, have you checked with every? Then you can also have helpers. If the kid sees a red, they, a few kids are out to go and help.
I'm all in.
Y'all have all three. Okay, I'm gonna take these. I'm not.
Did I do something wrong? I did.
Probably what I need to do.
We're all good, team.
Ten different answers.
You guys got about 1 minute left. About 1 minute.
Okay, so, okay. Now, take me back one, please. Well, yeah, there we go. Okay. So we have all right, so this was one of my favorite no's because, can anybody figure out why?
2 to the 3rd power.
It reveals it.
Okay. 2 to the 3rd power is not 6. 8. All right. What else? Is that all we did wrong? All right. So if this would have been 8, we would have had 8 minus 6, which is 2, and 40 divided by 2 is 20. So that's okay, because this is my favorite no, and I try to put a positive spin on it, say it's my favorite no. All right.
Yes, you are.
Very
Matt,
good.
your favorite Matt.
One more. Okay, here's a video. I'm gonna see if we can send this out. So I'll try to send this out. Mr. Howard to send this out.
Absolutely.
Can you go to the next one more? I'm not gonna show the video because it's like 5 minutes long. All right, so another thing within creating this math mindset, I think it's important to self-reflect. This is actually a poster that I have in the back of my room, and we reflect after. This is kind of like a post-assessment. So it's how well did you understand the learning target. The pre-assessment I would do at the beginning of class, so they feel like they're an expert, or they can do it independently, or they need a little help, or they need reteaching. So they don't put their name on this. It's just like I'll give them a post-it note and they'll